Good evening, everyone. The first part of the evening is a public hearing on the proposed budgets for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. The purpose of the public hearing is to solicit input from residents of the township and elsewhere, if desired, to speak relative to the expenditures proposed for the coming fiscal year. Following tonight's public hearing, there will be a special meeting of the Township Board to approve the budgets for the coming fiscal year. The totals are identified on the agenda for both the public hearing and the worksheet, or excuse me, the agenda for the special meeting and the worksheet for the public hearing. There will be some discussion, both meetings, but the first meeting is really intended to hear from you, the public, relative to the budgets proposed for the township. So with the public hearing open, we will entertain comments from anyone in the audience relative to the proposed budgets. Again, the figures are on the worksheet or agenda, if you will, for the public hearing. Is there anyone present that would like to offer comment on the proposed budgets
Mark,
for the coming year?
before you move on, can I talk about a change on those numbers?
If you would like, yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
so on the sheet, the public hearing sheet where the proposed budgets are listed, under F, I don't know if you guys have this one, no, you must have this one. Under F, new road funds, so for District 1, the amount should actually be $29,660. We were inadvertently had put numbers in that included the totals, not just what we're gonna get this year. Then for
both the
district-
income and expenses?
Income and expenses, yeah, just to make it,
29,660,
yep, just to make it balanced.
okay,
District $2 bay, 6275, 62075.
okay,
And then for, District 4 Calumet, 3340, 33040. And the total for both then is 124,775.
This is the new money only,
Correct.
and if they look at the original figures on the document, that is the figure that includes the carry forward?
I think that's what it was, yes.
Okay.
Oh, and then the old road fund, what did I do with that number?
you have a couple grand left in there or what?
No, what did I put that number? Oh, I threw it away. I think it's, well, this is actually pretty close. It might have been just over 7,000, but we can do that, I guess.
So if I'm interpreting it correctly, before I again ask for comment on the budgets, the figures that are the original figures reflective of carry forward from the current fiscal year to next year and the new numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers given for each of the three districts reflect the money collected for, in essence, for next year,
Mm-hmm,
the new money.
mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, appreciate that explanation. With that information in mind, is there anyone interested in offering comment on the budgets proposed for township use next year at this time? You will have up to 3 minutes, please identify yourself, and the clock will begin when you start talking.
Thank you. Forrest Jeanette, I have a question on the roads and the, I guess this is the agenda. It says old road fund 6950, but is that money that's left over from the last budget year?
No,
Mr. Janke, would you like to address that question? To
there was an
clarify?
old millage that had different restrictions on it, prior to the current millage. And those are funds that are remaining from that old millage that still have the same restrictions on it.
And those restrictions are what?
They're different than the, I can't remember off the top of my head, but
I mean, is it like it's proportional between the three
No.
precincts?
no, it's not the same at all as the current millage.
Okay.
That was set long before we divided these things into three, before that
Oh, I
election happened.
Typically, it's used, on an annual basis to paint the lines and stuff
Okay,
in the communities, in front of the fire halls, in front of here, over at the school, I believe, I think in front of the Tamarack Fire Hall. There's some locations that it's used,
okay.
and so it, year by year, it continually goes down until there won't be anything.
Okay, good, so this is, if we don't spend it all next year, it'll be carried over, or this year, it'll be carried over to the following year.
Yeah, I think we do the lines every other year, or something along those,
Okay.
probably getting close to needing them again.
We do add money to it, there's one or two, I'm not gonna say, there's a couple, entities that, don't fit neatly inside one of the precincts. I'll just say Charter, for example, I don't think they pay, but, you know, they cross all three precincts. So the way it was handed over to me was those few entities that have money, they were putting money into that old road fund, and it's just never changed
Okay,
since, but it's all still used for road purposes, so.
so charter money doesn't
That's,
go.
that's just an example, I actually
Okay.
don't think I don't think their money goes for that, they might be exempt, but, you know, something like that, like a utility where they cross all three precincts, rather than a business like Quincy's, you know, is
One
solidly in
location.
precinct 2, so their money comes to precinct 2. So there are a couple, and we've just never talked about figuring out a way to split that money out, that's how it was handed to me, so I've just continued to do it that way.
Okay, so there's still money going in?
A little bit, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Alright, so that's mostly from like fees or franchise,
No, it is from the tax, it is from the road millage, but just from those few, like, businesses that,
Oh,
like I
I
said,
see.
they cross, they're either in all three or they don't neatly fit into one, so they didn't divide that out, and they,
Okay.
and like I said, I just continued it because that's how it was being done before.
okay, alright, thank you.
You may continue, given that it was a dialogue, you still have
No,
time left.
I'm fine, I was just interested in why this particular one was there. Separate from the from the three district, part.
Thank
So
you.
I'm fine, thank you.
You're welcome. Would anyone else like to address or relative to the proposed budgets?
Well, the, Osceola Township and Tamarack Water, are there changes to those? You know, the income, I mean expenses, instead of I'm looking at the incomes there that you have from the previous year, is it the same or what?
Right now it is.
Oh.
Nothing, any decisions about, wage increases or fee changes or anything like that, it's gonna be pushed to April, the April meeting.
Okay.
So it's basically just a carry forward budget of how we're trying to close out this fiscal year.
Thank you very much. Mr. Matfolk, any other questions or comments at this time? Would anyone else like to address the board at this time relative to the proposed budgets for the coming fiscal year during the public hearing? Hearing none, what's the board's pleasure relative to the public hearing? Our option would be to adjourn the public hearing, or as was indicated previously prior to the meeting beginning, past practice does allow us to recess and then reconvene the public hearing during the special meeting, should someone come a little later and wish to provide input relative to the budgets.
Sure.
A recess then is, and then we will recess the
Do we have to
public
move on
hearing.
that?
A motion to, in effect, recess with an approval during the board meeting, I think would be appropriate.
Okay, let's do that. I move.
Mr. Janke moves a recess,
I'll second it.
second from Mr. Worm, with the understanding that we will come out of recess for the public hearing during the special meeting. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries, the public hearing now stands in recess. With the public hearing in recess, we will move then to the Osceola Township Board special meeting on the budget.